When you start feeling even a little bit of burnout, the first thing you can do immediately is to start cutting your expenses. When you cut your expenses, you start loosening the dependency you have on your paycheck, which can lead to more options down the road, like taking a lower paying job that is less stressful. It also leads to more savings and financial cushion, which again creates more options for you if you ever need to take some time off. It also creates a larger mental separation between you and the paycheck when you start realizing that you don't actually need that much to feel comfortable. So, here are a few tips that has been helpful for me in cutting my own expenses. The first one is to reduce the frequency of spending rather than tracking a specific spending limit in a specific category. For example, rather than tracking how much I've already spent on eating out, I'll keep track of how many times I've already eaten out this week. To do this, you figure out your current spending on a specific category and how many times you spend on this category in a week, and then you use that to calculate the spend per frequency. So, for example, if you spend $200 a week on eating out and you eat out 10 times a week, you spend roughly $20 each time you skip cooking at home. After you have that, you want to set your target budget. So, for example, maybe you want to cut your eating out budget from $200 to $100. You figure out what that equates to in frequency. So, in this case, it would be eating out 5 times rather than 10 times. This method will be way less precise, but it'll make it easier to actually stick to the budget, which I think is the most important thing in budgeting in the long run. The second tip is to stop using the buy now button. Instead of buying things immediately, like going on Amazon and hitting that buy now button every time you think of something to purchase, put things in the cart instead and designate a weekly purchase date. Like, for example, every Sunday you'd go into your cart and actually review the items in the cart to see if you actually need them. This reduces the frequency of impulse purchases, and it also gives you a chance to really decide if you need something before you actually purchase it. The third tip is learn something or work on side hustles. When you're learning or working on stuff, you literally have less time to spend money. When I was taking classes, I just didn't have time to go out. I was lucky in that my classes were paid for, but if you don't have that option, there's a ton of free courses online and tons of free learning material out there for you to start something. And if you don't want to learn something and you just want to make more money on the side, you can also start a side hustle. The last tip, which I think is the most important, is to not cut down too fast. The goal here is to sustain these budget habits. It doesn't make sense to cut down intensely for only a few weeks and then only to revert back to old spending habits, which really just isn't productive. So, what you want to do instead is ramp down in your spending rather than doing it all at once cold turkey. If you're burnt out, this is what you can do immediately. And even if you're not burnt out, cutting expenses is usually a good idea that can only help you in the long run. Hope this was helpful, and thank you for watching.